Nintendo Switch 2 speculation, information, and discussion is going into overdrive as we head into the reveal of the system sometime before the end of March 2025. But let's discuss the latest information that has come about based on a new patent that confirms something that we've expected when it comes to the Nintendo Switch 2. We're also going to discuss a few other things about the system and how it's going to handle Nintendo Switch 1 games that's coming to light, and a little bit more on what you could expect when it comes to bigger AAA titles from Japanese developers, because once again, there's another big third-party publisher that is talking potentially about the system going forward in certain AAA franchises. But before we get into all that, what's good everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you are someone new, and click that notification bell to get my videos as soon as they drop. Now let's go ahead and jump right into this because we've got a brand new Nintendo patent, at least from when we're hearing about it. It's a little bit older when Nintendo first filed it, but it lines up right now with the Nintendo Switch 2 and what is going on. So Nintendo's latest filing adds weight to the expectation that it will use the DLSS style upscaling. Shoutouts to VGC that caught this, but there's a number of people that have been reporting on this. So this new patent appears to support the claims the Nintendo Switch 2, Nintendo Switch successor, whatever you want to call it, will utilize DLSS style upscaling technology. A patent filed on July 2023, so now we're going into 2 years ago at this point, but published recently, describes a system of machine learning that can convert images of one resolution into a higher one. So in this article, we're going to break down in detail what this will be able to do and how this is exciting for Nintendo Switch 2 owners. So DLSS, deep learning super sampling, or similar technologies work by using AI to upscale the resolution of games, effectively allowing developers to achieve higher graphical settings and better frame rates on weaker hardware. Now, once again, this would be great for the Nintendo Switch 2 as it's poised to not be some type of powerhouse hardware like a ROG Ally X that's going to cost $700 or $800. This is going to be more in line of a budget hardware using technology that's considerably better than the Nintendo Switch 1, but not the latest technology overall. So you have to keep that in mind, and DLSS can help when it comes to mitigating those issues that the Nintendo Switch 1 had when it came to resolution and how the games looked on your 4K TV. Now, Sony's recently launched PlayStation 5 Pro utilizing its own upscaling technology, PSSR, at a platform level, while AMD's FSR is a popular solution on other consoles, which is utilized on a game-to-game basis, which the Nintendo Switch 1 also had a few games that utilize that as well. It's been reported previously by VGC and other outlets that Nintendo is planning to utilize a DLSS style technology on its next system, which could provide a significant advantage considering the technical constraints faced by portable devices. As noted by journalist Laura Kate Dale, the new patent mentions using upscaling technology to reduce overall game sizes to fit a modern game onto a, quote, smaller capacity physical media. For example, game cards. Another quote here, guys. The example given is that a game with native 4K textures might need a 60 gigabyte download, but with a 1080p native version might only need a 20 gigabytes, which would allow it to fit on a 32 gigabyte Switch cart, the current max size Nintendo produces for the Nintendo Switch 1. The idea being to do a 4 times upscale on the device in real time. Now, this is a very interesting thing because one of the problems that we have with the Nintendo Switch 1 is that the game cart sizes are just smaller in comparison to the massive size that you see on Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. You'll have games that come out on the Nintendo Switch 1 compared to the Xbox and PlayStation, and they'll have to significantly downsize in terms of the visuals or how it's going to look to be able to fit it on a Nintendo Switch cart. And even worse, half the time you have to do downloads overall. Like, you have a game on a cart, there's only like 8 gigabytes on a cart, and the rest of it you have to download because the developers and the more like publishers are trying to save on those carts. So hopefully Nintendo not only has this to employ to help out with those file sizes, but then also they've developed technology better with their carts in order for it to be cheaper and bigger size carts. So if you have a 1-2 combo punch of DLSS that can mitigate these bloated sizes that we have, because it's gotten way out of control. It's been getting out of control when it comes to game sizes, and you have better technology within the carts that's cheaper to use for these sizes, I think that can significantly help overall the problem that we have as an industry, how big these games are getting or have gotten at this point. Now, Nintendo did previously publish an AI upscaling patent back in 2020, which described the process's potential use in cloud gaming, in which cloud-based systems could send a compressed low-res image to the player's device, which would then be upscaled to AI to reduce latency. The latest patent was published on the same day that the alleged image of the Nintendo Switch 2's internal hardware components appeared on Reddit. If accurate, the image appears to confirm previous hardware specs, suggesting the new console will again be powered by NVIDIA, which I think at this point we can all say yes, it's going to be powered by NVIDIA. So that's great. NVIDIA does good work. I think they did a great job with the Nintendo Switch 1, all things considered at the time. And I think that the Nintendo Switch 2 is going to be the best that it can be, considering what type of hardware they have to have and the price that it's going to be. Now, Nintendo has yet to officially reveal the Nintendo Switch successor, which we do know, but it will be revealed before the end of March this year. So this is going to be, once again, super exciting to see exactly how they handle this, but I think that Nintendo will be able to handle some of these bigger third-party ports easier and more frequently than what we got with the Nintendo Switch 1, where we didn't have this technology at all. Now, don't get me wrong, there's still going to be games that just don't come over for X, Y, or Z reason, but I do feel that it's going to be considerably better. And if you're looking at it from a Japanese game maker perspective, I think most of the games will have a chance to get ports or come over, considering they're still making games on the PlayStation 4 to this day. If you look at stuff like Bandai Namco, we have a new Elden Ring game that's coming out, and that's coming out on the PlayStation 4 as well. And you still see lots of developers still making games on the PlayStation 4. The Nintendo Switch 2 is going to be significantly better in many respects when it comes to the architecture, when it comes to the technology built within it, when it comes to the processes, when it comes to the efficiency than the PlayStation 4. So you should see a lot of these games come over to the Nintendo Switch 2, just as long as Nintendo can off the jump make sure that everyone knows what the system is and sell the system. But I do expect Japanese developers to be there pretty much from day one, announcing different games and sprinkling that in throughout this year and next year. Then of course seeing how things go, seeing how the game sells, seeing how the Nintendo Switch 2 is selling, and just as long as the momentum can be what it was or similar to what it was for the Nintendo Switch, which there's no really expectation that it won't be, I expect there to be a lot of Japanese support on the system. Now, I do think that'll be a little bit different when it comes to the Western support, considering that they do things a bit differently, and a lot of them are starting to not support the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One as much as Japanese developers, so I think they'll be a bit more spotty there, but there will be a number of Western games that do come over overall. Like, you will see some developers say, yeah, we want to make sure that we get that on there because it can sell. We saw stuff like Doom, Wolfenstein, in addition to The Witcher 3 come over to the Switch 1 and actually sell really well on the platform. The Witcher 3 in particular, I think selling near 2 million plus copies for a very iffy, kind of sketchy port of the game, but nonetheless, people still did play it and enjoy it for what it was. They can obviously make a much better port of The Witcher 3, for example, on the Nintendo Switch 2, and I do think that it does have a chance, for example, to get something like Cyberpunk on the Nintendo Switch 2 as well. So this is absolutely a positive thing overall when it comes to this technology with DLSS. Now, it's not a be-all, end-all, fix-all when it comes to lower powered systems, and that doesn't mean that the system is going to be stronger than the Xbox Series X or the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox One X. Obviously, it can't do what some of these systems are doing overall because of the specs and the size of those systems, but it's going to be significantly better than the Nintendo Switch 1, and it's going to do a number of things to help with the porting process and help with the image quality situation that we had with the Nintendo Switch 1, where a lot of times it just looked a bit rough overall. So what do you guys think when it comes to this new DLSS technology that's being explained here, which we went over, but now we have pretty much a definitive, okay, it's going to happen, and a bit more information? You guys can let me know in the comment section. But now we're going to move on to another thing that we discussed before in the past, and that's Nintendo's system in place that they're going to have in order to take Nintendo Switch 1 games and upport those to Nintendo Switch 2 or have some type of system that works with it. We covered what Mr. Mike Odyssey had to say recently about how Nintendo has a system in place. So for a game like The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, you'll be able to download a patch that will upgrade the game, and it doesn't seem like they're going to be charging for that, but I do feel that there is some type of plans. Nintendo has probably plans to charge for upgrades or potentially be able to give them away limited time or whatever the case is. Like, I don't think it's going to be everything's just going to be upgraded no matter what, and everything's going to be working just fine. I don't think that's going to be the case, but we do have Samus Hunter that has came in, which I'm sketchy on Samus Hunter, but people have been sending me this, and I wanted to research it a little bit more. But she actually quote tweeted what Mike Odyssey had to say back in December about this, and added that regarding updates on Switch 1 titles for greater compatibility with Switch 2, I confirm that Nintendo has built a system to allow these type of updates. Although there has been work on a better version of Breath of the Wild, I am currently unaware of how it will be handled. So it's kind of just adding a little bit. There will be some way that you can upgrade the games. Nintendo is working on some system to where it can work seamlessly with that, but we don't know exactly how that will be handled, which once again, I do think that it's going to be a game by game basis. Nintendo can do very much like what Sony's doing, where it's not like what Microsoft is doing. Microsoft has like instant Xbox Series X boost and all sorts of stuff. A lot of games don't even get any patches, but some games do have the bigger versions or the updates, the smart delivery. So Xbox handles it the best so far. Out of anything that I've ever seen, Xbox Series X handles Xbox One games so well, and also patches and updates. It's really good. PlayStation does it to where it's a case-by-case basis, and they don't have anything internally natively built in as good as the Xbox. So, for example, there is no smart delivery. There are studios that will charge. Sony will charge for updates like $10 if you want an update to the better version on the PlayStation 5. Some games will just get patches to be able to work better. Some games just automatically boot up the PlayStation 4 Pro version, so it's kind of scattered overall. So I expect it to be something very similar to that, to where Nintendo, some games will just be the exact same in terms of how it runs on Nintendo Switch 1 to Nintendo Switch 2 with no update. Other developers will say, okay, we can charge an update. If you already have the cartridge, you can pay a fee and update it. Some developers will probably be like, okay, yeah, you can just get a free update. So if you want to go buy the game, go buy the game, or you can buy the game on the Nintendo Switch 2 eShop and you will get that update process. And some developers will have both options, or will have all options, to where they'll say, we'll re-release the game on a Nintendo Switch 2 cartridge so you can play it natively that type of way. But then also, if you have the Switch 1 cartridge, you can update it. So I do think that there's going to be a host and a variety of ways that this gets done. And I think that that's probably the best that we can hope for at this point, because Nintendo's never done anything like that at all. Usually what they do when it comes to backwards compatibility, it just boots up the native version of that game, and there's never been any updates or anything like that. Now, they've done re-releases and they've done stuff to where they've upgraded the games themselves, but they've always been like a new title. They haven't done anything to where it's a patch and something like this happens. So I do feel that it's new territory for Nintendo, but if they built a system that works well, definitely a positive and a good thing. So we'll see what happens with Breath of the Wild, which has been rumored as well. There was apparently a 4K 60 demo that VGC and Eurogamer talked about that was demoed over at Gamescom a while back. So I do hope that this actually works out well when it comes to these Switch 1 games, because there's a number of titles. I actually made a video on it, a bunch of Switch 1 games that absolutely could use a Switch 2 patch and update to run better, look better. Games like Pokemon, games like Astral Chain, games like Bayonetta 3. These would all be great. Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom. I mean, there's a host of them, and it would give the Nintendo Switch 2 instant offense, like a bench player coming off the bench, you know, a sixth man of the year in the NBA or something like that. That gives you instant games, instant offense for people to go out there and play and enjoy at way better quality. And I think that would be a huge boost to Nintendo Switch 2, especially right there at launch, as there's probably not going to be a ton of new games to play. There'll be some good stuff, don't get me wrong. There'll be some big Nintendo first party games and everything, but imagine having all the back catalog upgraded to play even better without having to do some type of emulation, hacking, modding, or whatever the case is, right? So I think that would be really good overall for the Nintendo Switch 2 system and just starting out on the right foot overall. But now we're going to move on to the final topic, and it's something that I've been covering now for a bit when it comes to Square Enix and what they're saying. Now, in a recent 2025 Japanese developer ambitions, we've been going over this quite a bit. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth director Naoki Hamaguchi says that they want to make the FF7 Remake series of games available to more game fans in 2025. Quote, "We are currently proceeding with the development of the final title in the FF7 Remake series, and the entire development team is doing their best to make it a fitting finale. Next year, we will also continue to take on the challenge so that more game fans can be able to play the FF7 Remake series of titles, so please continue to support us." So we know that FF7 Rebirth is coming to PC, which is great. We already know the FF7 Remake already came to PC, but that's it. It's just PC and PlayStation. There's still no Xbox version. There's still no Nintendo version at this point. There's been plenty of rumors from Xbox insiders and people saying that Square Enix is going to be bringing the Final Fantasy VII Remake series over to the Xbox. So maybe 2025 is finally the year for that. But I think even bigger than that would be bringing over the FF7 Remake series to the Nintendo Switch 2. I think that would make a massive impact, especially in Japan, because the Nintendo Switch 2 is currently set at this point to be probably the best selling next system in Japan, because right now the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series, well, the Xbox Series is non-existent in Japan, but the PlayStation 5 is doing okay, but not really, if you know what I mean. Like, it's doing okay for any other system compared to what Nintendo's doing, but clearly the Nintendo Switch 1 is dominating. It's the best selling system of all time in Japan, and that momentum seems like it's going to roll right into the Nintendo Switch 2, because Nintendo Switch 1 sales are still strong in Japan. So I do feel that if they brought Final Fantasy VII Remake series to the Nintendo Switch 2, that will be a big boost overall to Final Fantasy and help them get the numbers that they would want. Now, we don't know what the deal is overall when it comes to Sony and Square Enix with Final Fantasy, but every single one of the producers, anytime that they get the chance to even talk about it, they talk about how they cannot keep games simply on PlayStation on one platform. We have to expand and branch out. And they see the sales numbers just like all of us see the sales numbers, and they're already putting it on PC. So it's not like they're talking directly about putting games on PC. They're talking about putting games on Xbox and Nintendo. And I do think that this would help out dramatically if we got FF7 Remake and Rebirth both on the Nintendo Switch 2, because Japanese players just want to be able to play that anywhere that you want. And I think that Nintendo players have shown that they will buy Final Fantasy. There has been a host of Final Fantasy games that have sold incredibly well on the Nintendo platform. The Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster, Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy 8, 9, 10, and 12 have all done great on the Nintendo Switch. So if they brought over FF7 Remake and FF7 Rebirth, I do think those games would also do very well on the Nintendo Switch 2. So we should see some movement on that, maybe some rumors. I don't think we'll see FF7 Remake and FF7 Rebirth on the Nintendo Switch 2 in 2025, but I do think that in the future there will be announcements for FF7 Remake and FF7 Rebirth, and of course the final game way in the future that will come over to Xbox and the Nintendo Switch 2 at some point. But what do you guys think overall when it comes to the new DLSS technology, what's going on with Nintendo and upgrades for the Nintendo Switch 1 to Switch 2, and of course what the FF7 Rebirth director had to say about branching out when it comes to their games? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch RPG videos and more right here on screen. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.